Hello everyone, welcome to Online PTE. My name is Sarah Javadi and today we're looking at Module 2, Task 2, Essay Writing. We will focus on different types of essay and essay structure. So have you got your paper and your downloads ready? Let's get started. In order to write an essay, the most important thing you need to understand is the type of essay. So make sure that you start by reading the question, the prompt very carefully. There are different kinds of essay questions. Here we have got them. There are 5 essay questions type. We've got advantages, disadvantages, problems and solutions, agree, disagree, causes and effects, and discussion. In order to understand what type of essay you need to do, it's necessary to read the question several times. Okay? For example, here I have got a sample of an agree-disagree question that goes like this. Travel helps to promote understanding and communication between countries. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Upon reading this question, you'll understand that you need to do Type 3, agree, disagree. Okay? Now, there are certain steps that you need to go through in order to prepare for an essay. So, your very first task is not starting to type an essay. As we mentioned, you need to read and analyze the question and then start planning for the question. Planning takes a little bit of time, about 1 to 2 minutes, but you will definitely benefit from it. So don't think to yourself that, oh, I don't need to do this. I'll just get started and ideas will come to me. The thing is, with the stress of the test, you don't want to add to the tasks that you have to handle. You have to look for your grammar, your structure, your spelling, and lots of other things. Therefore, we take care of the ideas before we start the actual essay. If you look here in this section for planning, and this is what you will do on your notepads, you draw 2 columns. This is a space for you to write down very quickly a few ideas. So just a few words. Jot down a few words so that you remember what you're going to include in your essay. Let's imagine that we have got an advantage-disadvantage question, like what are the advantages and disadvantages of using computers and technology in the classrooms. You will need to generate advantages and disadvantages for this essay. So that's what you will put on top of your columns. Then you write down 2 benefits of using computers in the classroom, 2 drawbacks of using computers in the classroom. Now this question seems easy enough. You already might have some ideas, but sometimes some questions might be more difficult and challenging. Therefore, you need a little bit of help. Best thing to do is to use what we call the idea generation pie. Now this pie is divided into different sections. Each section stands for one of these adjectives. So we have got social, individual, financial, educational, and the list goes on. So any other adjectives you can think of, you can add to that list. What are we going to do with the pie now? In order to generate ideas for the question, think about these angles. Think about the question from that particular perspective. Like, can I think about any individual benefit that using computer in a classroom will have? You're probably thinking of an idea now. It is much more convenient for the teacher and the students. Okay, so you just write it down. You don't have to write down a whole word or a whole sentence. Remember, as long as you remember what you were thinking about at the time, that will do. And we want to be very quick about this. Then you keep thinking about another perspective. Hopefully, that will generate another idea for you. So the whole purpose of going through the pie is to be able to come up with ideas more quickly and also have a plan, have ideas that are quite comprehensive. They cover different angles. This will make your essay look stronger. Okay, so that's how you create your ideas. Write them down. You're done with step number 2, which is planning. Now you're ready to start typing your essay. So remember, there are 2 steps before you actually get to typing your essays. Read the question, analyze it, plan for it, then start typing. For typing your essay, what you need to be familiar with is the structure of the essay. There is a certain format that's recommended, and that will actually help you remember things more easily. In order to write a good essay, we're looking at 4 paragraph essays here. Okay? Well, here I have done a sample of an essay for you. As you can see, we have got 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph is our introduction. We have got 2 body paragraphs following that. And finally, we have got a conclusion. Okay? Here are some suggestions with the number of the words. Remember that these are quite flexible, but again, they're very helpful if you stick to them. So as you can see, about 40 to 50 words for the introduction will be enough. Your body paragraphs, we have got 70 to 90. That's slightly different because it depends a little bit on your speed of typing. So if you can type quite quickly, which is what we're hoping for, you can go up to 90 words per body paragraph. But 70, 75 will do in some cases as well. Your conclusion, as you can see, this is the shortest part of your essay, so between 20 to 30 words. Now, let's talk about each paragraph in detail to see what happens inside each one. Introduction. Think about the name. It comes from the verb introduce. So obviously, you need to introduce your topic here, okay? In order to do that, it's a very good idea to think the person, let's imagine a person is going to read your essay. The person who's reading your essay cannot actually see the question. If your introduction is a good one, they will be able to guess what the original question was. That is a mark of a good introduction. So, in your introduction, try to have 2 to 3 sentences. Starting with the background. So, B here stands for background. Now, what we try to do in the background is to introduce some sort of a warm-up toward the topic. So, you can imagine that an essay question can be about education, can be about employment, can be about society and culture. Therefore, you need to give an indication as to what it is about. But remember, do not dive into the details of the question here. This is just like a warm-up. You can start with some phrases like over the past few decades or over the past few years. This is a very good way of starting. And then use the prompt, use the question to continue this sentence. Remember never to copy the prompt. Always rephrase it. So if it is about importance of education in Western countries, all you have to do is underline those keywords, importance, education, Western countries, and then rephrase them. It means think of a synonym that has got quite similar meaning to the words you have underlined. Recreate the sentence. For instance, instead of importance, you can use significance. Instead of Western countries, you can say first world countries, modern countries, advanced countries. This way, you will create your own sentence and it's not a copy of the question. Okay? Now, in the argument, which is not always necessary because more often than not, you will be able to include the main part in your background. But if you feel the need to have an argument, as in point out what the question exactly wants you to do. Back to the early. Now, let's look at the thesis statement. This statement clarifies the type of essay that you're doing. Remember the 5 question types? It's really important that you mention in your introduction what type of essay you are writing. Now, in order to do that, there is a certain structure that we follow. If you're going for a low band score, there's a very simple way to do this. but we do not encourage using that sentence very often. You can simply say, this essay will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of using technology in the classrooms. But for higher band scores, which is what we want you to get, ideally we would like to use a kind of sentence that's called a complex sentence. Very easy to do this sentence. All you have to do is use while, or alternatively, although. This will enable you to write a two-part sentence, which is called a complex sentence, and we will talk about it later in details. But for now, this is what the sentence will look like. So there are two parts to it. What you will do in the first part, remember the question, advantages and disadvantages. While there are several advantages of using technology in the classroom, there are also some disadvantages. So all you have to do is point out to the two sides of the question in your thesis statement. Now, imagine that you're doing a problem and solution essay. Give it a go. Try to see how your thesis statement will go. So we have got two things, problems, solutions. We will use the first one in the first part of the sentence. While there are several problems, comma, there are also some solutions. So that's our thesis statement in a complex sentence. Now you're done with your introduction. In order to find alternatives for starting your background, you can refer to handout number 1. At the bottom of the page, in handout number 1, we have got some alternatives. For instance, you can say over the past few decades, but you can also start like in many academic circles, or in many countries, or in many societies. These are quite helpful for the first sentence of your essay. Now let's move on to our body paragraph. As you can see, body paragraphs are the longest parts of your essay. They are the main part where you argue, where you bring about your arguments and ideas. Every body paragraph is made of 5 components: topic sentence, idea, example, explanation or extension, idea, example, explanation and extension. So, what were they? Topic sentence, idea, example or an explanation or extension. One more time, idea and example, explanation and extension. Okay, now let's see what they are and what they do. The topic sentence is somehow like a heading for your paragraph. For instance, if I'm writing an advantage-disadvantage essay, I need to introduce what is going to happen in this paragraph. Therefore, I'll use a sentence like, there are several advantages of, now whatever the topic is, using technology in the classrooms, for instance. This way, you're pointing out that you're going to discuss the advantages in this paragraph. Make sure you keep this sentence quite simple. All it has to do is introduce what's going to happen in the paragraph. Moving on to the idea. You might ask yourself, where am I supposed to get 2 ideas to put into my body paragraph? Well, good news is you already have them. Remember your plans, the 2 columns that you created at the beginning and jotted down a few words? That's your idea. So you go back to your notepad now and use them in your essay. But you turn them into a sentence, obviously. What you have is just a few words. Turn it into a sentence. And always start with a linking phrase that joins this sentence to the rest of your essay. So you can start by the most notable one is, or the most significant one is, or the most important one is. Here, you have to use those words that you noted down earlier. Make sure you turn them into a complete sentence. We will leave it at that for now. We will talk about the structure for that sentence later, but it's very important that you have a complete sentence. So, not a very good idea to say the most notable one is efficiency, because that's not a sentence, and what you need is a complete sentence there. Okay? Moving on to the example, explanation, and extension. What are they? Essay writing is your skill and ability to logically argument something. So, logical thinking, deductions, and thorough explanations of your ideas. For every idea that you mention, you should be able to support that idea. Otherwise, your essay is just a list of items. So it's like bullet points, idea, bullet point, idea, which is no good. What you need is a whole paragraph. So your critical thinking should enable you to come up with maybe an example for the idea that you mentioned. For instance, if you talked about efficiency being one of the advantages of using technology in the classrooms, can you think of a tangible example? Maybe a classroom where you have attended and technology was used and it really facilitated things. That could act as an example. If you cannot think of a tangible example, you can explain your ideas in clear language. But make sure that you always follow your ideas with enough thorough example and explanation. Okay? The extension, as the name indicates, cannot be on its own. You need to explain something and then build up on that and say, as a result. So it always comes with one of the other two components. In order to start your example sentences, you can, if you're providing an example, you can use phrases like for example or for instance, but if you're providing an explanation, there is no need to say for example. Remember that your E sentences, as you will know them from now on, are the longest section of your essay. We will look at a certain type of sentence that will help you write that kind of sentence as well. Now, whatever you did earlier, you do it one more time for the second idea. All you have to do is start with another linking phrase. So if you said the most notable one is, now you can say the second benefit is. Now what do you need after this? You need a complete sentence. Remember, don't use a single word or just a noun phrase. Complete sentence. Provide explanation and example for the second idea as well. So you're going to have another quite long sentence here. All right? This is what your paragraph will look like. You have done one of your body paragraphs. You're ready to move on to the next one. So what will happen is the same structure applies to every body paragraph. So you have got T, I, E, I, E. One more time. Just remember that the role of the second body paragraph is different. So if you discuss the advantages up here, this paragraph is going to cover the disadvantages. Therefore, you need a different topic sentence. Something like, despite these benefits, there are also some drawbacks. There we go. We mentioned the word drawbacks, and that will do the job. It's clear that this paragraph will discuss the disadvantages. Follow the same structure as the first body paragraph. In order to provide some more help with the body paragraph structure, we have got another handout. Would you please go to handout number 2? As you can imagine, in this handout, we have got different body paragraphs for different types of essays. So we have got an advantage, disadvantage essay on the top. And if you look underneath, you see body paragraph. T, there are obvious advantages of, insert topic here. I, the most important one is, continues. E, example, extend, explain. And then the new paragraph stands for body paragraph number 2. And the same thing applies for all the other types of sentences. Okay, so make sure you spend some time reading these sentences. Learning the fixed topic sentences will help you a lot because these are correct sentences. You can rely on them and they save a lot of time because you have memorized them and you don't need to spend too much time thinking about these sentences. So we're done with our body paragraphs. We're about to finish our essay. Almost there. The conclusion. This is the smallest paragraph of your essay. All you have to do in a conclusion is to end your essay. Wrap things up, bring it to an end. So make sure you keep your conclusions really short. Don't bring in new ideas in the conclusion. Remember, you're finishing your essay. You have already done all of your arguments in your body paragraphs. All you need for the conclusion, 2 sentences. First one, restating the thesis. Remember the thesis? Where was that? In your introduction, the very last sentence of your introduction. All you have to do is rephrase. Do not copy your own sentence. You're capable of easily replacing these with something else. So, if you have used while in your thesis statement, you can easily use although down here. All you have to do, start with in conclusion to indicate that this is your last paragraph. Use although. Now, what kind of sentence follows? You know by now. Another complex sentence, 2-part sentence, in which you repeat the 2 components of your essay. So, if you have used the word advantage up there, you will use the word benefit down here. If you use the word disadvantage in your thesis, now you can simply use the word drawback so that you do not copy your own thesis statement. Final sentence. This is where you make a recommendation. Now, why do we need to do that? In order to end the essay smoothly, best thing to do is to take the question into the future. So a reflection, a thought, a suggestion about the future. All you have to do now, in the future, and give a recommendation, like something should happen regarding using technology in the classrooms. Keep it simple. Remember, we don't want to bring in new ideas at the very end of our essay. Finish that sentence. We will talk about the structure for that sentence soon as well. And that's it. There you go. You've got yourself an essay. Remember, consistency and persistency are the key. So remember to do your homework, Your teachers are waiting for you. Bye for now.